I, 21 male, have an older sister, Donna, 23 female, who was conceived during my parents' marriage. My mom was fighting cancer at the time and my dad couldn't handle the idea of being alone after she died, so he started to emotionally move on. Well, my mom miraculously survived, and my dad broke things off with his affair partner wanting to forget the whole thing. Donna's mother was really spiteful of her being tossed away, so she waited until my dad was at his happiest, before showing up and dropping the bomb that he had a kid with her. My mom was furious and heartbroken, and almost everyone took her side. After the DNA test and the court-ordered child support was established, my mom filed for a divorce and got almost everything, mostly because my paternal grandparents threatened to completely disown my dad if he wasn't generous. My grandma adored my mom, and my grandfather was ashamed of my dad, but he was still allowed to work at the family business. He just no longer had his original family share. My grandparents did this on the basis that if my dad died while Donna was still a kid, they didn't want her mother getting control of anything on her behalf. Donna was welcome to attend family functions, but never with her mom, and it was no secret how little everyone thought of Donna's mom. Well, my grandparents have now passed, and according to the will, my dad only received $10,000, and the shares that he was originally supposed to receive were reallocated to other members of the family. My 4 cousins and I each got $50,000 plus a share in the family business, while Donna just got the $50,000. When asked, it was stated that they didn't give Donna a share because they didn't want Donna using it to help or benefit her mom in any way. However, since she was still their grandchild, they wanted to give her something. I felt like since this was their money and assets, it was their choice, but Donna feels differently, and that since I'm her brother, I'm getting the most pressure to share. I refused because while our grandparents didn't give Donna a share of the business, they did give her $50K, plus presents as a kid, paid for college, and bought her a car. Donna thinks I'm the a-hole for not sharing. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your grandparents made their will to distribute their assets as they wanted. The fact that Donna got a chunk of money but wants part of the family business too has nothing to do with you. That is all just Donna and her issues. In most countries, grandparents have no, zero obligation to provide anything in their will for a grandchild. Spouses, children, and dependents, yes. Grandchildren? Nope. Your grandparents' will hammered your dad, $10,000, but left $300,000 in family business shares among the 6 grandchildren, unequally. If anyone has grounds to whine, it's your dad. But he didn't, right? Donna got $50,000, a college education, and a car from her grandparents, all for herself. But she wasn't included in a business that she would have to share with 5 other folks who may or may not get along with her, including you. The reason Donna didn't challenge the will is because she has no case to whine for more. Instead, she's grinding your gears, OP. Make it stop. Tell Donna, they did what they did, it is what it is, and I'm done hearing about this from you. If you're that unhappy about their gifts, feel free to give back the $50,000 and the car. Not the a-hole for holding the line, but totally be prepared for Donna to estrange from you and your family. If she's that miserable, maybe it would be best for all. You aren't, but your grandparents were. They punished their grandchild because they were mad at their son and his mistress. And why do they hate this woman? Did she even know he was married before he dumped her? No one knows for sure, but we do know that your sister is innocent. No a-hole, because your sister isn't either. She's justified in feeling she was treated unfairly. Haha. I have 2 daughters, Chloe, female 23, and Lorna, female 19. My husband and I are fortunate enough to own 2 properties. We own our primary home where we live in our rural hometown, and a small 2-bedroom apartment in the city that's around a 3-hour drive away. We purchased the apartment around 5 years ago with the original intention of using it to have spontaneous weekends away. However, 2 years ago, Chloe got accepted into a university that was in that city. We decided to let Chloe stay in the apartment, and we'd pay all the utilities. Chloe is still staying in the apartment and has another 2 years left of her degree. This year, Lorna got accepted into the same university, and she asked us if she could stay at the apartment with Chloe. We didn't see why not, and informed Chloe that her sister was going to be joining her. Chloe was really angry and said that we should have asked her if it was okay, and said she needs her own space. We reminded Chloe that they'll be able to have their own bedrooms and that it's only a temporary arrangement until she graduates and finds a job. Chloe told us that's not the point. She said that she already uses the spare bedroom as her study room and that she doesn't want to live with Lorna. She said that Lorna is annoying and that she likes living on her own. My husband reminded Chloe that she's staying in the apartment for free and that Lorna has just as much right to be there as she does and that they can figure out on their own how to not get on each other's nerves. Lorna moved in at the start of the semester around 2 months ago. At first it seemed to be going well. I regularly check up on both Chloe and Lorna, and they didn't mention any problems. Last week Chloe called me and demanded that I kick Lorna out. She said that she can't stand living with Lorna anymore, and that she needs to have her own place. I asked Chloe what's going on, and she described very petty problems such as Lorna's room being messy, not having a study room, not being able to play the TV on loud at night, etc. I told Chloe that that's the reality of living with other people, and that she needs to learn how to compromise, and that we aren't kicking Lorna out. Chloe protested and said that she was living there first, and implied that Lorna should live in dorms because she's younger. She kept talking over me and shouting into the phone when I was trying to explain that would be unreasonable. I eventually lost my temper and told Chloe if she doesn't like it, she can move out and pay rent and bills elsewhere. Chloe started crying and said that I should be more understanding, then hung up the phone. My husband thinks that Chloe is just acting like a brat, and that we shouldn't entertain it, and that my response was fine. But Chloe has been ignoring my texts and calls and is clearly upset by my comment, so I'm wondering if I was wrong. Not the a-hole. Check in with Lorna. It must be hell living with Chloe. Chloe lived in a 2-bedroom apartment on her own without having to pay utilities and rent for the first 2 years. She should be grateful. Really, the fair thing would be to kick her out so Lorna gets the same experience. I'm not suggesting you do that. Just highlight to Chloe that if anyone's missing out here, it's actually Lorna, not the a-hole. Not to insult your child, but hey, your husband did it first. Chloe is being a brat. She is very lucky that you gave her this opportunity, and she's throwing it in your face and taking it for granted. Not the a-hole. Occupying solo a 2-bedroom apartment as an undergrad is a rare luxury. Your daughter, however, seems to think she's entitled to it. You rightly set her straight and don't second-guess yourself on this. You should remind her that this apartment was never intended specifically as her domicile. It was to be you and your husband's pied-à-terre, an opportunity you deferred, in favor of allocating a family resource to whom it is of the most use. She obviously thinks you can afford separate housing for her sister, so she is not only trying to claim the apartment as hers, she is trying to manipulate how you and your husband spend your money. I've worked hard for years, saving up to buy myself a great boat. I have over £30,000 in savings for this sole purpose. We have a separate real savings account for emergencies. My wife knows I've been saving up and supports me, and we share joint accounts and have had no financial issues. I've been looking forward to next summer when I can finally make my purchase. The trouble is, my mother-in-law is getting quite sickly, so my wife has been going over to her mom's house fairly often this year to care for her. My mother-in-law lives alone now as my father-in-law has passed on. My wife takes turns with her brother every week to care for her. She has a colostomy bag and is needing more aid. We've hired a carer to help with some of the tasks, changing the bag, bathing, etc. But my wife says she and her brother are getting physically tired. My wife works full-time, as do I, and so does her brother. My wife has asked if we can put her up in a nursing home, one with a qualified nurse to take care of her. I asked her how much it would cost per month, and she said it was around £800. I asked if her brother could half it, but she says since he has a family of 5, he can only practically give £100. That would be £700 a month for us. I told her we can just hire our current carer for 2 more hours a day for 4 days, as she lives just down the block from my mother-in-law, and it is much cheaper. My wife is adamant that we put her up in a nursing home because it has a round-the-clock qualified nurse and comfortable rooms, equipment. I said we're going to feel squeezed on cash if we do that. Just hire the damn carer for more hours. Final cost for us would be around £350 on our end, with her brother's £100. My wife had the bright idea that we can dip into my boat savings to support her mom in a nursing home and give us some financial cushion to not feel squeezed. I said not bloody likely. I've been building that boat fund for several years, and I'm about to buy one this coming summer. I'm not using my savings to put her up in a home with a professional nurse when there is a perfectly fine carer to help her on a day-to-day basis. Paying £700 per month would drain my fund, which means no boat. I told my wife if she wants to put her up in a nursing home, her mom needs to sell her terrace house and use the proceeds to pay for her own nursing home costs. My wife doesn't want to put her mom up to this because she wants to keep the house in the family and have her mom in the nursing home. I told her these were the 2 options on the table to meet her mom's needs, but taking out of my boat fund so that she can have her cake and eat it too wasn't an option. She called me selfish and accused me of being heartless for choosing a stupid boat over her mom. She accused me of putting the boat before her ailing needs and comfort. It made me feel kind of bad and made me doubt. Am I being unreasonable here? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your mother-in-law needs to sell the house to cover costs for the care facility. Why does your wife want to keep the house? As I'm guessing you two already share a house. So who is she thinking would live in mother-in-law's old house? If mother-in-law doesn't have liquid assets, the house is the first thing to use or sell. This is a huge decision, with life-altering consequences for you, your wife, your mother-in-law, and your marriage. You need to do some work to get to the right resolution. You need to talk to mother-in-law's doctor about what care she needs. You blithely assume that a couple of extra hours of a carer is sufficient. Your wife disagrees, and since she is the one doing all the work, perhaps you should consider she may be right. You both need to find out. Use specialists in elder affairs and estate planning to look at the financial issues. I don't know how things work in the UK, but in the US there are government programs that help with nursing home costs if needed. Maybe you could buy mother-in-law's house and rent it out. Give her the cash for the nursing home, yet preserving the house, which is clearly very important to your wife. And most importantly, you guys need marriage counseling, because this has every potential of blowing up your marriage, and you don't seem to realize how serious it is from your wife's perspective. No a-holes. We haven't had anything to do with my husband's parents for about 5 or 6 years, because they have always hated me for reasons we don't understand. They would call me names behind my back, etc., etc. I was always respectful to them, though, and they were respectful when I was around, just not when I wasn't. My husband and I have 2 kids together. He told them a long time ago they needed to accept me if they wanted their son and grandkids in their lives. Well, they didn't want a relationship with me. They wanted me excluded, but wanted my husband and the kids. He told them we're not having that toxicity in our lives, and it's only going to hurt the kids. Either accept my wife or no deal. So they rejected all of us. Well, my husband decided to try to drag them back in. I talked with them on the phone for an hour. They apologized, even though they were still giving off a lot of pride and defensiveness. I apologized for the way I had handled their disrespect towards me in the past. I had not reacted to it for a long time and just put up with it. But then I got angry and started to defend myself in an immature way. That's the only thing I ever did wrong, though. Anyway, they decided to let me be a part of the family. My husband's sister still greatly hates me, even though I never did anything to her. She's hurt cause she thinks it's all our fault and her parents did no wrong. So she needs time and space before she thinks about accepting me, or even being around my husband and our kids. Whatever, fine. But now my husband's parents say their daughter and her family are welcome to come to their house for Thanksgiving, but not us, in order to keep the peace. They said they don't want to cause a rift between them and their daughter, so they would rather exclude their son and his family at their house on Thanksgiving. My husband is naturally heartbroken and begged them to let us come, and they insisted that we not, even though we are more than willing to get along with his sister. They just choose to value her over their other child, because they're still mad that we rejected them and haven't been a part of their lives all this time. But we didn't reject them. They rejected us because they didn't want me around. And they want to protect their daughter because she protected them throughout all this. So my husband is of course very hurt. I'm very angry, and we have to explain to our kids why we're not welcome on Thanksgiving. We don't even know where to begin. My question is, am I the a-hole for being hurt and angry about the Thanksgiving thing? Because they seem to think that we are the a-holes. Yes, the a-hole. You are expecting too much in my opinion. Why would they risk offending the child who is currently a safe bet for a good relationship, in favor of someone they haven't been in contact with for 5 or 6 years? Basically, they'd be risking her not wanting to be around them for you guys, who might not be able to repair the relationship. I'm not saying the break in contact is your fault. Sounds like they're difficult people. But it would be a bit short-sighted for them to just jump back in as if nothing was wrong for so long, in opposition to what the person who actually stuck with them for years wants. Not the a-hole, but you have bigger problems here. Your husband stood up for you and the family by requiring them to get along with you or go no contact. They chose no contact. But now he has changed his mind and you didn't state why exactly. If all you said is true, and there wasn't any communication with husband and family behind your back, husband should know better. If not when he contacted them, but now. They've chosen to forego a relationship with you again. They will continue to make this choice. He needs to come to terms with this, or there is something else going on, either we or you don't know about. Also, not a great idea to reintroduce the idea of a relationship with grandparents without more work done between the adults. But it is what it is. They don't need to be confused by this. Just explain that Thanksgiving is going to be just for your family.